One of the most popular cryptids of all time is the Mothman, and he is without a doubt one of the most unsettling as well. And like any other cryptid, many are skeptical about it. Despite the Mothman's existence being practically impossible, why do some believe it is real? That's a hard question to answer, but what I can do is talk about the main story, the main sighting, and the possible theories for this strange cryptid. I can't express how fascinating and cool the design of the Mothman is. He's a creature slightly larger than a human with giant wings with big glowing red eyes. And believe me, you'll hear about the big glowing red eyes a lot. The Mothman is tied to tragic events due to it appearing just before disaster. Some even think he is to blame for disasters, but other people disagree and believe he is there as a warning sign. One thing is for sure though, something strange happened in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Whether it was the Mothman, aliens, or other paranormal explanations, or even a three-letter agency we are far too familiar with. Let's take a trip to Point Pleasant and take a look at the beast we know as the Mothman. The Mothman originates in West Virginia, specifically in the Point Pleasant area. It ranks up there with Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, the Loch Ness Monster. It is by far one of the more popular cryptids. The first sighting happened in November of 1966, when Roger and Linda Scarberry, accompanied by Steve and Mary Millette, were driving to a remote area in Point Pleasant known as the TNT area. The first person to see the Mothman was Steve Millette, when he saw glowing red eyes and told the rest of the group. The group described it as a gray man-like creature with wings. Linda Scarberry described the infamous red eyes, circular, fiery red eyes, and a man but with wings. Pretty simple. She even stated you could see the muscles in its legs, which gives an idea of just how close they could have been to the monster. They were struck with fear, and in a hurry they drove away. Although they were going 100 miles per hour down the road, the creature started flying, and it chased them and even caught up, despite the speed they were going, 100 miles per hour. The only reason they managed to lose the flying beast is because he stopped chasing them as they got closer to town. Mere days after this happened, more and more sightings were reported. Although keep in mind, this is after the local newspaper already reported on it. Like any other cryptid, mostly hoax stories flooded in. George Johnson, the Mason County Sheriff at the time, believed the sightings were just a large heron, and wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith said that the sightings fit the description of the sandhill crane, which is almost as tall as a man and has a 7-foot wingspan. Although this bird is not native to the region, this is the most believed explanation for the Mothman. Keep in mind, as I mentioned before, most sightings came out after the local newspaper reported on it. I'm not discrediting the original sighting, however, there's an easy explanation for the later sightings. It could have been for attention, or they possibly saw an animal they didn't know could have been there. For example, contractor Newell Partridge said he saw a creature in a nearby field that had eyes that glowed like bicycle reflectors when he shined a flashlight at it. On top of that very vague description, he also blamed Mothman for making his television make buzzing noises and causing the disappearance of his German Shepherd. It isn't all that unbelievable to think a person could blame a recently reported unexplainable creature for his dog's disappearance. Many other reportings are seemingly all the same. It's a dark figure with big red eyes that reflect light back at you. Mothman sightings are usually linked to some type of natural disaster. The first being the collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15th, 1967. The Silver Bridge connects Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Gallipolis, Ohio. So it only makes sense that just a year after the Mothman was originally sighted, people began to wonder if he had something to do with it. However, this theory was taken a step further, and believers started connecting other disasters to the Mothman. To name a few, you got Chernobyl in 1986, the Russian apartment bombings in 1999, the September 11th terrorist attacks in 2001, the I-35 bridge collapse in 2007, and even a 2009 swine flu outbreak in Mexico. Although this is very interesting, I do think it is kind of disrespectful to tie the Mothman into these tragedies. Saying it could fly to these places isn't an excuse either, considering it was never spotted outside of West Virginia until newspapers publicized it. Supposed sightings even claim that they saw the Mothman first. They were simply too scared or worried to come out about it because they didn't want to be mocked or laughed at. There are so many variables here that it makes it hard to believe almost every Mothman encounter. Despite most sightings being unreliable, I do believe there is some truth to the first reported sighting. There are interesting theories about what exactly happened in Point Pleasant in 1966, and some are scarier than the Mothman himself. I gotta put on the tinfoil hat here for a bit, because the first theory is that the Mothman never existed and it was somehow caused by the United States government unethically testing on civilians. The US government is no stranger when it comes to testing drugs on the populace. The government is no stranger to unethical practices on their citizens, and it's definitely no stranger to conspiracy theories. So when you hear this theory, it shouldn't really be a shock. MKUltra was a highly unethical human experimental program that was designed by the CIA that was meant to figure out what drugs are best at interrogations to break people and force confessions. This was through brainwashing and psychological torture. The government claims it began in 1953, and the government claims it was halted 20 years later in 1973. I keep saying they claim because, let's be honest here, we can't trust a single word they say. Oh, I can't say that. Let's be honest here, because we can't trust a single word they say 99% of the time. There are so many instances of the CIA starting a very slimy project that involves directly harming people, realizing people are gonna be pissed off, so they close the project down only to immediately create the project again, but with new names, the same goals, maybe other people, and they just spread all the information far and wide, so you have to dig for it. The program used a multitude of methods to deteriorate subjects' mental states, along with their brain functions. These include, but are not limited to, chemicals, electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, abuse, torture, and quite possibly their favorite, psychoactive drugs. The one drug they used the most was lysergic acid dithiamide. I'll just call it LSD. And if you don't know, LSD is a potent hallucinant. LSD is a potent hallucinogenic. LSD is a potent hallucinogenic. Potent hallucinogenic drug. There, got it. They use this in hopes of extracting information from people and even possibly mind control them. LSD was, in quotes, the secret that was going to unlock the universe for the CIA. However, they gave up on that idea. The reason they dropped it is also very interesting. Researchers dismissed it as too unpredictable, and the biggest factor in this is a documented experiment that went wrong. As the experimentation progressed, a point arrived where outsiders were drugged with no explanation whatsoever, and surprise acid trips became something of an occupational hazard among CIA operatives. Adverse reactions often occurred, such as a worker who received the drug in his morning coffee became psychotic and he ran through Washington, believing he saw a monster in every car passing him. Although there is plenty of information out there about MKUltra, this is only the tip of the iceberg because there is still plenty of redacted information out there. And it's redacted for a reason. They don't want us to know. Keep in mind, MKUltra is entirely real. For whatever reason, some people don't believe it. And I believe there is an argument to be made of whether or not Mothman could be related to this. The dates of the sightings match. We know that they tested LSD on the unconsenting public. Who knows, maybe they even pumped it straight into the Ohio River, affecting all of the residents of Point Pleasant. Hypothetically, if this was truly the case, we will never know because Uncle Sam doesn't know right from wrong and they don't care. I forgot to mention before that in 1973, the CIA director Richard Helms ordered that any documentation on MKUltra had to be destroyed. So although there is information out there, many of it was destroyed because this piece of shit knew exactly how bad it truly was. As with any mysterious monster seen in a forest that nobody quite understands, it is also theorized that because Mothman was first spotted near a World War II munitions plant, he could have been a government lab experiment that went wrong and escaped. This honestly wouldn't be the first time something similar like this happened. such as when 43 monkeys escaped from the Alpha Genesis research facility in South Carolina in 2024. Although it's quite the leap to compare this paranormal entity to a bunch of monkeys, it's just a reminder that the government screws up all of the time. So believe me when I say the government could have created a creature that could cause or predict natural disasters and scare people, they would. I also wanted an excuse to talk about 43 monkeys escaping a research facility because it's pretty funny. And you get this cool backdrop footage of a bunch of monkeys running around. The next theory is Mothman is an alien life form. Like the last one, if there's anything nobody understands, it's gotta be an alien. People claimed to see UFOs around the same time as the Mothman sightings. American journalist and ufologist John Keel wrote the Mothman Prophecies in 1975, which details Keel's investigations into the Mothman. The book includes alleged sightings from people he interviewed in Point Pleasant, and he ties them into his theories involving UFOs and other paranormal beliefs. He also ties it into the Silver Bridge collapse. One of the theories that he gave was that aliens use some type of psychic ability or device that creates hallucinations, such as the Mothman and other UFOs. I personally didn't read this book, so that's really all I got about it. There's also a movie that was made in 2002 by the same name that I also didn't watch. I don't know what else to add to this. It might be an alien or a projection from an alien, and that's all I got. And I'm not going to trash on my boy John Keel, because when I was doing research for this part of the video, I saw that he had some diehard fans that rip people to shreds if you don't like what he says. So I'm going to leave it to the Keel haters for that. The next theory is that he's an angel of death. Some believe that because he appears around disasters, he's either claiming or bringing them up to heaven, or I guess bringing them down to hell, wherever they go. That's it. The last two, easy to group together. He does exist, and it's an animal we don't understand. It's an entity we don't understand, and whatever, he's real. I'll just say that's a theory. The other theory is that he doesn't exist. So I guess that isn't a theory. But yeah, last one is he's fake. I'll be honest, with all of this attention Mothman gets, I expected a lot more evidence and a bit more of an effort to prove him to be real, if that makes sense. Kind of like the Bigfoot. I have people going out all the time looking for Bigfoot. You got that show where they're trying to kill Bigfoot, capture him, beat the shit out of him, or whatever. Don't get me wrong, even with the lack of evidence, I don't really care, because I just like having fun with talking and thinking about this type of stuff. The idea of us learning that there's this creature that could do all of this stuff is crazy to me, and it's just fun to think about. The stories and digging up theories is also fun. Even the wild ones, even the extremely crazy ones, like him being an interdimensional being. Like that's cool. Life would be a lot more boring if I just sat here and said, hey guys, yeah, he's fake. See you later. Done. So that's not what this video is. That out of the way, one thing is for sure. The Mothman seems to be an easy moneymaker for Point Pleasant. There are museums, restaurants, bakeries, coffee shops, sweatshirts, mugs, but I wouldn't exactly be shocked if many people living in Point Pleasant are appreciative of what the Mothman has done for them, is how much tourism comes to their town. This isn't a criticism towards them about taking advantage of it, because I eat this shit up, or I eat this stuff up. And if I were able to, I would go in a heartbeat. I'd like a shirt or a mug from Point Pleasant. That'd be nice. I'd like to see the scenery, the statues, museums. It's a very fun bit of history, and the impact it had on the town is incredible. And for cryptid culture in general, or even just horror in general. And yeah, that's the end. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like the video, hit that little thumbs up, hit that little thing. If I miss anything, or you have something to add, comment below. Throw whatever you got at me. Subscribe if you want to see more. I plan on making more of these. I think I have more on the way. I should, if I don't entirely give up. Thank you for watching. Drive safe, sleep good, enjoy the day, enjoy work, or whatever else you are doing right now. And I hope to see you in the next one.